According to the budget estimates, the finance minister's 1.45 trillion shilling budget will be the country's largest budget to date. But given the large size of the budget, it presents numerous challenges for Treasury. Many questions arise from the incremental approach to the budget size that seems to be adopted by every finance minister. For starters, has the 1.45 trillion budget ignored the immediate needs for the majority in favor of popular politics? According to the report by the Parliamentary Budget Committee, the widening gap between the budget policy statement and the printed estimates indicate that Treasury has abandoned short, medium and long-term projects in favor of political expenditure.
The executive is the one that has the mandate, the legal mandate, to propose to Parliament what it wants to achieve through its functional departments, the dockets. But as Parliament, we have this dictum that says the executive proposes, Parliament disposes.
It's largely what I would call the one-off establishment cost in regards to the devolution structures, just trying to bring them up. And so in this sense, on that account alone, I think I see development expenditure actually coming down. Because as of January this year, development expenditure was about just 23% of the overall budget.
Estimates indicate that bulk of the budget will once again go towards financing government operations. While recurrent expenditure has been pegged at 1 trillion shillings, leaving only 451.7 billion shillings for development expenditure. But as we usher in the new devolved system of governance, are the priority areas aligned to the government thinking?
The thing about any government, that is a challenge any government will always have, competing priorities. Now, from a perspective of Vision 2030, devolution, aligning ourselves to the Constitution is important for Vision 2030. And I think it is important that we actually set off on the right footing. So this first election under the new Constitution is very important, and we need to get it right. The process of moving from a centralized system of government to one which is devolved also needs to be handled very carefully. And therefore, it is reasonable to expect that those priorities will compete with others, but I don't see them as separate.
The size of that budget is quite big, and if you look at the government's revenue collection, it's been dwindling over time. Specifically, if you look at the recurrent revenues, the tax, we're actually flat. Our tax collection is flat, and I think something has to be done to boost the tax base somehow.
The minister has allocated 77.2 billion shillings to the energy sector, while a bulk of the development spending will go towards the road sector, which takes 95.6 billion shillings. Analysts believe it's crucial the government is able to balance one-off costs in the next financial year with maintaining the growth momentum. Other major beneficiaries include health, transport and agricultural sectors.
Enhancing the budget for infrastructure, for agriculture, for education, it is not, in my view, mutually exclusive with funding the devolution of, the devolved units. So yes, there will be some competing priorities, but our job will be to make sure that we see how can we have complementarity, and how can we begin to seamlessly see that, organizations like KURA, the Kenya Urban Roads Authority, KERA, the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, today are centralized national institutions. But many of the functions that they will be undertaking in terms of building roads in the counties, they will have to do in conjunction with the county governments and the priorities of the county governments. So funding them is not, in my view, mutually exclusive with funding the devolution of government.
But one aspect that keeps popping up in the run-up to the budget is the ever-increasing budget deficit, as well as the debt level, currently at 47% of GDP, which could have a bearing on interest rates in the next financial year.
And that is not good for the country. So what we need to be telling our people is that until we reduce our consumption habits to below 50% of our GDP, we may never be able to grow.
I think the government should be an austerity program, and we need to cut on some of those. The wage bill is too huge. 73% of your expenditure is just recurrent. It needs to be cut down substantially, and just calls on very disciplined austerity programs. And obviously, you know that austerity programs everywhere in the world they've caused yielded social unrest everywhere. So, but I think the government has to bite the bullet here.
Whichever way you dice it, this year's budget is going to be unique. It will undoubtedly present the finance minister with a headache over how to finance it. Michael Karanja, KTN Prime.